Moonlight Peaks released a major update for the game, including tons of quality of life improvements that will change the way you play. All this and more today. Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, bringing you the latest gaming news with Sunnyside Up. Today is August 20th, 2026. The developers behind Moonlight Peaks released an update for the game on Steam, version 1.2.3, which is now live. This patch includes many highly requested features, adjustments, improvements, and more, which we'll be going over together. Please go ahead and shine the lovely like button if you appreciate being kept in the loop with these updates, and make sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on so you don't miss out. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's get right into it. So we're just going to be going in order with the patch notes, starting with the museum, which will actually now accept higher quality items. So if you had some quality fish that you weren't able to previously donate because of that quality rating, you can now donate those. The next update is huge, and we can all breathe a sigh of relief with this one. So now actually at the Broken Lamp, you will be able to purchase the red gramophone at any time. So this will always be available here at the Broken Lamp. And you do need this item to grow the muse tree, so finally you don't need to worry about checking in at Ridges every single day. You'll be able to get it no problem at the Broken Lamp any day of the week. Apparently now purchased accessories and other customizations are actually now going to be stored in the player's inventory, and you can also gift and sell them. You'll now also be able to change your hair at the mirror. So you'll see a new tab here for hairstyle. So you can now switch this up at your leisure whenever you'd like. If you're looking to get a new look, you can just change it straight at the mirror. Previously, you actually had to use an alter ego elixir potion to do this, but now you can change it here. You can also change up the color. So if you feel like going for a new look, you can do that. And you can also add facial hair. Lots more customization readily available here just at the mirror, which is awesome. Now, similar to crafting, you'll now also be able to cook in bulk. This could be especially helpful for something like a gazpacho soup that you're making for stamina purposes. So if I want to make like 5 gazpacho all at once, I can do that. I will still have to be doing those mini games, but I'm going to be doing it all at once, so I don't have to enter and exit the interface over and over again, which is great. I personally love the minigame, so I'm happy with this. Another little update is that cooking and crafting can now be canceled. So if I'm starting a project here and I go, oh my gosh, actually, I'm crafting the wrong thing, or I change my mind, or I don't want to use up these resources for this item, you can cancel it. So you don't need to worry anymore if you start the wrong project. You can back out of it. The team has also reduced the number of nights between some mainline quests, which I think will be super helpful because sometimes it does feel like you're waiting quite a number of nights before any more action is taking place, and you're kind of wondering, is something going to happen? Am I doing the wrong thing? Do I need to do something? So I think this will be really helpful for progression and making that feel just a bit more streamlined. Next up, plum and willow trees now actually drop darkwood. So as we can see here, if I cut down this tree, now I'm going to be getting darkwood, which, you know, just makes sense actually when you look at it. I need to upgrade my axe. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we've got darkwood. And also now weeping willow trees will actually drop lightwood, as you can see here. They've also made an adjustment that forageables, including flowers, will now spawn even if low priority foliage is in the way. So previously you might have been used to having to clear out a lot of this other foliage to actually get certain, maybe like more valuable forageables to spawn in. That should be addressed now with this update. So flowers and such will still spawn in without having to clear everything up. Similarly, they've also just increased the respawn rate of foliage in areas that are not your plot specifically, and this does include trees. So things like trees and foliage and forageables should spawn in more frequently, it seems. Now, tier 2 spells can actually be performed without the Witch's Wand. So that's one of the upgraded wands that you will get, and previously you did need this wand to cast any tier 2 spells, but you'll see if you go to Sabrina's shop at Web of Wonders, for those tier 2 spells like here, Arborescent 2, you actually don't have that requirement anymore. You're only going to have that requirement now for tier 3 spells. So if I wanted to cast Aquaflux 3, which is a much more powerful version of Aquaflux 1 and 2, I would need the Witch's Wand for that, but it'll be so great to be able to get Aquaflux 2 and help water more of your magical crops earlier on in your gameplay, before you have that wand upgrade. Next up, antique furniture decorations now have purple variants. So if you purchase this set of blueprints from the Howling Hammer, and then you head back home to check it out, you will see this new purple variant available for the entire set, which looks very lovely. Might actually be my favorite one now. Also, as you can see in the top right corner of the screen, it now does indicate the actual day of the week next to the number. So it's Tuesday, day 16. This will definitely save you from having to open up your calendar to figure out, what is day 16. It is Tuesday. Also here you can see which day of the season is the full moon. So there are some specific things that do take place on the full moon, and if you're trying to figure out when that is in the game, it's much more helpful now that it's indicated on the calendar. Apparently it will also be indicated at the end of night sequence. There's also a new accessibility tab under settings right here. So here you can now adjust the font size if you'd like it to be bigger to help you read it more easily. You can also toggle on or off text animations, along with screen flash effects, and you can also find the controller vibration settings here as well. So screen flash effects would include things like lightning, so if that was bothering you, you can now adjust that. As you can also see here in the bottom left corner of the screen, there's actually a prompt showing you how to do a quick transfer. So before we were just kind of figuring it out as we went, but now it clearly indicates if you hold down L2 and press X, you will quick transfer those items into your storage. And on the topic of storage, if you couldn't tell, there's actually more items per row here, so you can see more of your house storage all at one glance. Additionally, although I don't have any ongoing quests right now, if you did have a quest item in your storage, it would indicate with an icon, and it would also be sorted to the top of your home storage. There will also be different map visuals now for the museum, the Henderson house, and the player house before they're actually repaired, just to keep it more consistent with their in-game state versus how they are represented on the map. There will also be, right here, an icon indicated when the log is blocking the waterfall, and that'll stay there until you remove it. So if you were wandering around the forest trying to figure out where exactly this log is, it will now be indicated on the map. Mine isn't indicated because I have cleared it already. Now, in your almanac, they've also updated the crop section. So now you can actually see the energy, mana, and mana extract values for every single crop. So for example, here we can see that blood tomatoes offer 5 energy and 0 mana. And here we can see the gobblers offer 30 energy and 0 mana, but 400% mana extraction, which is 4 bottles of mana essence. I think this is going to be super helpful to reference when you're trying to plan things out, especially the mana extraction. I think that is super helpful. Similarly, now when you're taking a look at different things you can make in the kegs, but also the jam makers and the mills, it'll now show what each product will offer for mana and energy. So here we can clearly see that blood orange juice will provide 40 stamina. Now, when you're building a deck for Nocturna, once you add a card you have a multiple of to the deck, the card will actually stay bright like this to indicate you have another one that you can add. It won't grayscale out like this until you've actually added all cards available to that deck. Now, the next thing I am actually way too excited for, but now the Firefly pollinators will actually show a range indicator. So I was basically just eyeballing it. I was trying to place it between different plots. I can clearly see now I need to adjust where these are to help influence the quality of my crops. So this is very, very helpful. Also, now if you interact with the Firefly pollinator, it'll actually tell you what it does. So these fireflies consume 1 fire drop per day to improve crop quality. So if you're confused about what even is going on with these things, what are they for, it's going to be very clearly indicated here for you. Apparently now too, the Firefly pollinator's quality influence is now based on the amount of days it pollinates a crop and the amount of days it takes for the crop to fully grow. It might be too soon to say how this will actually influence the quality of crops, if we're going to get more good quality crops or less, how that balance all plays out, but it has been adjusted, so we do know that. You'll also see here that the pollinators only consume 1 fire drop per night and only hold up to 14 at a time. Before it was, I believe, about 35. Now, if you've been talking to your animals and you find that they're often complaining about each other, because they will, now they're only going to complain about other animals in the same barn once every 7 nights. So they're not going to be complaining every single day about those animals. They're going to have more varied dialogue because of that. Also, any complaints about missing food or too much compost will have priority over those complaints about other animals. So I think that'll be a nicer experience and actually allow you to see what is most important with their complaints, and also get to chat with them about a little bit more than just how annoyed they are with their barn mates. Now, when you go to the job board, I don't have any active jobs right now, but sometimes there will be some lost item quests. So now those items found from those quests are items that can actually be sold to Chester now. So I'm curious to actually see how this works out, because what are the consequences for not returning the item for the quest and selling it instead? Now in the mines, when you are collecting different ore, so this includes copper, iron, and gold, you will actually also gather stone from those nodes, which I do think, makes sense. I think that's pretty fair, because otherwise you're just getting one single ore from, each rock. So I think having it drop a stone as well makes sense and is also helpful. So now shaking trees isn't going to cost any energy. This is great, because to be honest, I don't think it ever should have cost energy, and I actually didn't notice it did until I had shaken a lot of trees and realized it was depleting my stamina. So you can shake the trees to your heart's content. It's not going to take away your stamina. Now, a couple things they've rebalanced that I don't think you guys are going to be too thrilled about is the Firefly Sanctuary production as well as the honey production. So as you can see here, my bee houses have only produced 4 honey today, which is significantly less than before. I believe it was about 16 per night. So this is not going to be the moneymaker it was for you before. Unfortunately, you're gonna need a lot more bee houses to produce a similar amount of honey to what you were doing before. So that is a little disappointing. I don't think it was necessarily like game breaking in any way. I wasn't making like thousands even or millions off of honey, but I'm sure they had their reasons for it. So that is adjusted. You will notice that, especially if you were relying heavily on the bee houses. I do suppose if you had like a ton of them, perhaps that could have been game breaking. With just my little tube here, it definitely was not. They've also rebalanced the price for items that take a long amount of passive times to produce, like wine. So this is a little bit unfortunate too. I have a 1-star bottle of wine that previously would have sold for 450 coins just for this bottle. It's now going to sell, let's see, what is it going to sell for? It's now going to sell for 180. So less than half the previous value. It's a little bit interesting the way they worded it, because it does take such a long time for these to process. I wouldn't expect them to make them worth less, but I guess because it is a passive way of earning money, they don't see us putting in a lot of effort, I suppose, active effort to making those items to make money. So I guess there must be something to do with that. That's unfortunate too, because wine was another great way to make money. It's still gonna make you some money, but for the amount of time it takes the bottles to process in the keg, I don't really see it as being quite as worth it anymore. They've also rebalanced the spawn rates of animal produce and have adjusted their sell prices accordingly. So a lot of the animal products actually appear to be the same sell price as before. The ones I'm actually noticing a difference for are the eggs, which now sell for 40 coins each as opposed to 20. I believe it was before. The plops also are now 80 each, and I think it was closer to like 15 or something previously. I'm guessing if they have increased the value of these specific products, that might mean that they spawn a little bit less frequently that would kind of follow in alignment with the wording of the patch notes and the logic behind something like a rebalance, but that's just my speculation on that. It's not confirmed at all, like word for word. But yeah, the other ones seem to be the same price. Like this is still selling for 45, the Dracula's 30, the Milk are 45 each, so nothing major there. They've also now made the default stack for items to be 100 per item in your inventory, with pathways, like the ones you would lay down here like this, stacking up to 1,000. Other than that, they've also rebalanced some of the loot from shaking and cutting trees. They've rebalanced loot as well from dig spots. I'm not sure what this is going to be like until, we actually have enough experience ourselves with the dig spots. I felt like they were pretty good overall to begin with. I do feel like sometimes I got a bit too much trash depending on maybe the season or the day. And I was really happy with wherever they had the diamond spawn rate at. So hopefully it's not been nerfed too much, but I think only time will tell on that one. They have increased the price of the purple gramophone at the Howling Hammer for whatever reason, I guess maybe to maintain its rarity. But don't forget that you don't need that one. You can just go to the Broken Lamp now and get the red one, which I have here. I actually did originally get this one at the Howling Hammer before the update. But yeah, you can get this one anytime now, but they did increase the price of the one that is available at Howling Hammer, the purple one. And they have also apparently slightly improved area loading times. For me, my loading times per area was pretty good to begin with. It was, a matter of a couple seconds. Seems about the same for me, but maybe depending on what the specs of your PC are, maybe you might notice it a little bit more than I do. So in addition to these new features, improvements, rebalances, and more, there are a ton of major and minor fixes that were also addressed in this update. So I will have the full patch notes linked in the description for your reference in case you'd like to have a read through them. Maybe you've encountered a very specific issue and you'd like to see whether it has been fixed. Also, this patch will likely now be in the review process for the Nintendo Switch versions of the game. So those of you playing on console will likely just have to hang tight for a bit in order to have it approved by Nintendo and released. That being said, if you want to get some money from the honey, and if you want to make some wine, now's the time to do it if you're playing on Switch, because that will be nerfed in the next update. So there you have it, friends. That's the latest news from Moonlight Peaks. Be sure to share your thoughts with me down in the comments. Which of the updates is your favorite? Which one are you maybe not quite as pleased about? Anything and everything, I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.